buy a particular stock, the required rate of return is risk-free plus the beta into risk premium of the market minus risk-free. We have read this, right? We know this, isn't it? So the risk-free we have defined. What is risk-free? We have defined here. Okay, the beta comes into play and the required return of the market. There are many ways of computing the market premium. One is that historically you go, what we have done is that S&P 500, you can do that, or historical return, you can do that, historical average, you can do that, or forward looking is nothing but the comparing the current price, then it has got its own issues. How to get to the beta? Beta of the stock is the movement of the stock in relation to the risk of the market. So, how a stock moves in tandem with the market. If the market moves by 5%, stock moves by 5%, then the correlation between the market and the stock is 1 or whatever is that. High, let us say if it is not 1, if you want to be not a purist like me, then it is not 1, 8 or 1 or whatever is that. The variation, suppose sigma, okay, standard deviation square, yeah, covariance of the stock with the market. If you recollect, the covariance of any performance of any instrument is defined in percentage, right? 55%, 60%. If the Google covariance with the S&P 500 is 55%, what does it indicate to me? Roughly it is moving more or less with the market 55%, 60%. So you divide the denominator of the covariance by the standard deviation of the market. Then what I do, if it is Google and if it is Facebook, so the co-movement is already defined and the standard deviation is there. Then you get a denominator fixes the stock in a particular band. So that is what the beta is all about. Okay, the beta is you have a common denominator, the standard deviation of the market, the risk of the market with the co-movement of the stock to the market. That is defined as the beta. The beta could be 0.8 or 1.2, or if the beta of the stock is 1, then it moves in tandem with the market. If the beta is less than 1, then it is defensive stock. If the beta is greater than 1, it is a aggressive stock. So you construct your portfolio according to the beta of the stock. So the risk premium of a particular stock is defined on the beta of the stock. The required rate of return for a particular stock is based on the risk of the stock. Risk of the stock you can define in terms of the beta of the stock. And if you are practically, if you are like a small time practitioner like me, you don't get great market stock, right? Like now, I am not like Rishi actually, isn't it? To work in Tata's and value the acquisition Chorus. Chorus is listed. Actually, life is easier when you work for the larger firm, KPMG. I was working in, it's called Coopers and Lybrand at that time. Now it has become PricewaterhouseCoopers. Life is easier. You don't have to even know what is risk actually. You can be part of the risk department, as I told you, but I didn't quote the name of the organization. Okay, life is easier. It's all listed companies. You can even compare the multiples and roughly you can tell the price, isn't it? Evaluation becomes easier. Because you have the beta, everything is all defined in the market. Huge research is going on in the market. Numbers are available to you. If you are a practitioner like me in a small firm, how will you evaluate an unlisted company? Where is the beta of the stock? Isn't it? Then the required rate of return itself becomes difficult, and there is always no extracted required rate of return. Okay, we will come to that. Let's not debate on this. Now the stomach is ruling more than the market, isn't it? Should we do one exercise and go? How is that? How your appetite level actually? Real appetite, not the learning appetite or the market appetite. Real appetite is good. Then you open your open your computer, I give a feel of participative, but it is not actually. I do as I want actually. Open your laptop. Okay. So in one of the exercise, Damodaran has valued Canara Bank. It may be historic, but I like the way of he valued the Canara Bank. Okay. So he says that the Canara Bank has gone into, in 2004 when he was valuing the stock, it has gone into 3 stages. One is that high growth period, the growth is very high. Then after that, the stable growth is there. So you saw the 2-stage dividend discount model. Okay. In between, it goes up and then slowly tapers off and then falls into a constant growth model. In this model, what happens during the high growth, I don't want to distribute huge dividends because I want it for myself. So the payout ratio is lower. When the growth is tapering off, I increase the payout ratio. And finally, the high payout ratio, when the growth is stable and my growth is not more than what an individual will expect, what I do, I distribute more payout to the participants or the stakeholders. So there are 3-4 sections to this. One is that he has given the EPS. Look at the EPS. Okay. And the expected growth rate is given actually. Initially for 5 years, the growth rate is 19.38. Okay, that is given. Then after that, the long-term growth rate is 4%. He has given only these 2. In your model, he has given only these 2. That's why I said you do along with me, it helps you. Or you want to do it later, looking at it, understanding it, it's all fine with me. But you won't see it. You will see it in the book, but this portion is missing in the book. How the tapering growth from 19 to 4 is not defined in the book. It presumed that it falls on a particular fashion, declining fashion. So let's, So it falls in a declining fashion. So that also I have given you in terms of a slide. So it is easier to see, as well as if you want to do along with me, you can do that. Similarly, the payout ratio is given 16.53% and the payout ratio is increased to 65% at the stable growth period of 10 years. You look at here, okay, 5 years, and then over that is a constant growth. So how the payout ratio increased also is equally done actually. So because the line is payout ratio, the line is straight line upward. Yeah. And the cost of equity is 13.7, and then again it falls to 11.5. Similarly, the cost of equity also goes down in the straight line fashion. He has given you only this and this, the in between he has not given. Okay. So you take the EPS and then out of that take the payout and get the dividend per share. Okay. How are you valuing this stock? That is the first question, is that how are we valuing the stock? We are valuing the stock, splitting the stock into 3 modes. One is that first 5 years and the next 5 years and the constant growth period. So you calculate what is happening in the first 5 years is that now the growth is, you could have taken that when you do a formula, straight formula, you can do that because the growth rates are the same actually, is 19.38. Invariably, it may not be the same, but this formula helps you. So the capital is very simple. It is given actually. The cost of equity is given 13.7. So you take the dividend. What the dividend declared also is given. Okay, and 13.7 you convert into 5 years, keep on multiplying by 13.7. So how 1 will become 1.9 in 5 years? So you divide the 6.57 by 1.13, you get the present value of the dividend. So similarly, for all the future next 5 years, you get the present value of the dividends. So that adds up to 13.19. Similarly, then the DPS, then you convert into dividend per share. It looks very high because the dividends, the earnings itself has grown to 90 to 100. Don't worry about getting too high on the dividends, because the earnings itself is higher. So the earnings